And that was a little later too, which I think is a natural thing, suddenly we've got lives.
There's a photograph that keeps resurfacing. 4 men standing together at the peak of fame, smiling for the cameras like brothers who'd conquered the world. But look closer at the man on the right, the one with the rings and the easy grin. And you'll notice something the headlines never captured. Behind those eyes was a man who'd spent years feeling like the outsider, the replacement, the one they could do without. And after decades of silence, the truth about who hurt him most has finally emerged. And the names might surprise you more than you think. Richard Starkey never imagined he'd become Ringo Starr, the drummer who'd helped define a generation. He was just a sickly kid from wartime Liverpool who spent more time in hospital beds than classrooms, first with peritonitis, then tuberculosis. Those lost years left him quiet, insecure, convinced everyone else knew more than he did. The drums became his escape, and by 1962, when the biggest band in the world needed someone stronger behind the kit, they called him. He walked into EMI Studios as the upgrade, the solution to their problem. But within days, he was sitting in the control room watching producer George Martin bring in session drummer Andy White, because apparently the new guy wasn't good enough. Decades later, Ringo admitted that sting never faded, confessing he made Martin apologize every day for years. The press piled on, calling him the luckiest drummer alive, the least talented member, the one who should be grateful to stand behind Lennon and McCartney. Inside the band, the hierarchy was obvious. John and Paul wrote the masterpieces, George fought for recognition, and Ringo sang the novelty songs and kept time. But after manager Brian Epstein died in 1967, that good-natured drummer found himself trapped between 3 powerful egos, and one tested his patience more than anyone. Paul McCartney stepped into the leadership void, organizing sessions, pushing everyone harder. And during the White Album sessions in 1968, something broke. Paul kept making Ringo redo a simple drum pattern, then sat at the kit himself to show him how it should be played. For a drummer already replaced once, this wasn't correction, it was confirmation. Ringo walked out and disappeared for 2 weeks while they struggled on without him. But Paul's control was one thing. Watching John Lennon disappear into someone else was another. When Yoko Ono entered the picture in 1968, the closed circle of 4 became 5, and suddenly only one presence seemed to matter. She'd interrupt sessions with suggestions, and John would side with her instantly, once telling Ringo bluntly to just keep it even, that was enough. The message cut deep for someone already labeled the least talented. George Harrison snapped in frustration once, and John exploded, accusing them all of disrespect. The leader they'd followed was gone, consumed by a relationship that left no oxygen for anyone else. Then came Alan Klein, the aggressive manager, who promised to save them from chaos after Epstein's death. Ringo, desperate for stability, signed on with John and George, believing Klein was the hustler they needed. But Klein studied their fractures and exploited them, turning arguments into battlegrounds, unanimous decisions into 3 versus 1. When Paul refused to sign and sued them all in 1970, the brotherhood shattered in courtrooms and contracts. By 1973, Ringo realized Klein had mismanaged everything, manipulated them, used them. George later admitted the only way they could reunite was if Klein wasn't there, a confession that revealed the deepest betrayal. The man Ringo trusted to protect them became the man who ensured they'd never stand together again. Time proved something the critics missed. The same drummer they mocked became the human click-track producers relied on. The groove that lifted Harrison, Clapton, Dylan, and Elton John's music, even Paul eventually inducted him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist. Ringo wasn't the weakest link. He was the heartbeat no one realized they needed until he proved it for half a century. So which story shocked you most? If you enjoy these untold Hollywood stories, don't forget to subscribe to Old Hollywood Pulse. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one.